Okay. Hi guys, I am Lisa and this is Derek or Decker. And today we're gonna talk about what is really a home loan or mortgage. And Derek is going to go through that. I'm learning about this too, so I'm going to be asking questions along the way. And we invite you as well to send through your questions, and we'll provide some contact details as well at the end. But we want to empower you with this information. So if you have had a call from the bank to say you've defaulted on your payments, or if there's any talk about repossessing your home, we want to give you this information so you know exactly what is going on with the bank. And Derek is going to teach you or show you what it is that you can do to reclaim ownership of your home. Okay, is that right, Derek?
Yes, we're going to walk through the process, and obviously there's going to be a lot of people who are able to continue paying a mortgage. There are some people, through no fault of their own, cannot restart paying their mortgages. So we will try to cover these questions to appeal to everybody who has a property.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with, what is a home loan? What really is a home loan? Or do you prefer to call it a mortgage?
Well, in very, very short terms, because I've written affidavits about this for people, and I have people in 2 states this morning who are in court over the very same question. What is a mortgage? Where is the paperwork? Where's the contract? And invariably, all the lawyers can do is say, Your Honour, can we have that put aside because we don't want to go there because we can't produce it?
Yeah.
A mortgage is meant to be a contract.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to the beginning.
Yep.
I used the example 500, 1,000 years ago. I had a couple of cows. You had a couple of bags of potatoes. I wanted to do a deal with you, and we would shake on a deal. That is technically, and in law, an agreement of 2 minds, 2 people. Yep. I want to buy your potatoes. I'm going to give you a cow, but I want a couple of onions and some tomatoes and whatever. And we would do a deal. We would barter. Yep. And we'd shake on it. And that's a contract. We've agreed. Yep. We've agreed mutually to an exchange. Mm-hmm. Lawyers don't like that idea because they want to charge a lot of money to make a piece of paper called a contract. Mm-hmm. So when we go to the bank manager or a mortgage broker or someone like that, an intermediary, we're saying, I'm trusting you to go and find someone who's got some money so I can buy a house. Yeah. So there's a middleman between me and the bank. Yep. And they go and fill out an application form and they go shopping. And they say, CommBank, Westpac, ANZ, NAB, who would like this mortgage? Mm. And I'll say, yeah, we'll give you, 3% or 2.5 or 5%. When there's meant to be haggling, right? But there isn't. Why? Because the broker's going to go to the company or the bank that pays them the most commission. Yeah. Okay. Let's say they say, okay, Derek, we're taking your mortgage. I'm going to go to Bank A, we'll call it. Mm-hmm. And we're meant to have a contract where I sign that I'm agreeing to their terms and they agree that I've got a job, I've got X amount of money coming in, and they're going to lend me money. The beginning of the fraud.
Why?
There's no lending of any money. We are not borrowing any money.
Okay.
That's the beginning of the fraud.
What do you mean? Because when I've heard you say that before, and I'm like, what do you mean that I'm not borrowing any money? So when I go to the bank and I say I would like to borrow $500,000, what do you mean that they're not lending me any money?
Okay. I have argued this in the courts, and they know exactly what I'm coming from, and they are trying to hide producing a copy of the mortgage. Now, I have a sister who's a lawyer, and she said to me many years ago when I did speak to her regularly, we have a lot of arguments about this subject and birth certificates, which we won't talk about today. And she said, when you go to court, you have to have evidence. Mm-hmm. You have to have some paper. You have to have something to walk into a courtroom and say, I've got a contract with Lisa and she signed it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a signature. Lisa agreed to a contract. We were going to do something, and
Yep.
Lisa was going to pay me some money, and I was going to give her A, B, and C.
Yep.
I had to have a contract. I had to have something.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into bank about trying to protect your home, they have no papers.
What do you mean by that? They have no papers.
They cannot produce a mortgage contract.
Okay, so this is where we need to delve a little bit deeper here.
Right.
Why can't they produce a mortgage contract?
Okay. I'm glad you asked that question. All right.
I'm learning here. Yep.
Great. No, that's terrific, because everybody needs to understand, and I've got people that called me before this Zoom session, and they've sent me text messages. That's why I'm looking off to the side, because I'm getting text messages and calls while we're doing this Zoom session from interstate. I'm in Victoria, as you are, Lisa. They're coming in from Queensland and New South Wales. Okay?
You're busy.
Derek,
Yep.
I'm okay. I'm okay for the moment. I'm paying my mortgage. I've got the ability to pay my mortgage. I don't want to upset the apple cart. I don't want to rock the boat.
Mm.
And I say everybody is in a different place right now. Some people are able to manage. Some people cannot manage. And I'm trying to say, I explained that in the bank mortgage letter that you're going to fill out at some point.
Yep.
You have a right to ask for your mortgage.
Okay. Yes.
I know, because I've been to every Supreme Court in Australia. The lawyers cannot produce a mortgage because they bundle them up. They put all these mortgages on a pile of paper, and they say, we're going to make that into a trust. A trust is simply like a briefcase full of these mortgages inside, and we're going to take that briefcase of mortgages, and we're going to sell it to somebody else.
Okay, right. So
hold on. So you're saying the bank's not giving me the money, somebody else is paying for that money to let me buy that house? Yes.
Okay.
So that briefcase with thousands of mortgages in it is a trust which has got value. And the big banks normally aim for around about, give or take, a couple of $100 million. They have a figure which I keep on seeing of $1 billion worth of mortgages. So the smaller banks like Bendigo Bank and Suncorp, they don't have the large numbers of customers, so they come together and they put, this bank, that bank, and that bank, and a couple of credit unions, and some of the smaller players to build up all these mortgages to sell them.
Okay, so let's just go back a little bit. So I'm a new customer. I've been approved to borrow $500,000, for example.
Yep.
I sign a contract. That's what I'm signing, right? I'm signing a contract. And then I get $500,000 in my bank account, if that's how it works. No, I haven't bought a home in a long time. Right. What's going on? What's happening here? When I sign this contract, what is happening?
Okay. I actually put this into the court about a week ago. When you purchased that property and you signed a copy and they say, yep, where's the property? And you're going to say, it's in number 1 Main Street in Melbourne. Okay. Right. And you say to the bank, that's the property I'm going to buy. And they're going to say, great, we're going to have the property title, that property, as security for your loan. That's what a loan is about. They're going to give you money, but they want something to hang on to, which is a property, a house.
Okay, so if, for example, I can't pay for my loan, the bank can then say, well, we're going to take your house back, and it's an asset. And they're going to sell it. That's that's the idea. That's what we've been told.
That's right.
Right.
Okay. So they will say that house at 1 Main Street in the centre of Melbourne is going to become the security of your house for $500,000 loan. Okay. They have a second document next to your contract called the Memorandum of Common Provisions.
Yep.
And you don't have to sign that document. It's in loose terms. That's the manual. That's the paperwork to enforce your mortgage. And it says that if I'm the bank and I'm lending you the money, Lisa, and you don't pay me back every month, the memorandum says I can come and take you to court and sue you and take your house.
Yeah.
That's the memorandum they can't give you. Because it says in there that they also can sell your mortgage.
Right.
They don't give it to you because they don't want you to know. They don't intend to keep it. They're going to sell it.
Right.
Not for the value you borrowed it for. They're going to sell it for the amount of what it will cost them with the interest, because they're being paid up front, and then the third party who buys the bundle of mortgages, the trust, they're the ones who are going to say, Lisa, we want you to pay back your $2,000 a month for 30 years. Now, not many people know this. The average mortgage on a 30-year home loan, you'll pay back that $500,000 2.5 times more than what you originally borrowed. So that $500,000 loan will end up costing you, I can't think right now because I haven't had my second coffee, 2.5 times the value of the $500,000. And people are going to laugh and say, oh, there it gets that figure. I don't want to give the wrong figure. Yeah. Every time I've gone through and I've got the papers of someone who said, yes, I've got some documents, it's 2 or 2.25 or 2.75 times the value of the loan.
Yep.
Australians have never suffered what happened in America in 2007, because our banks are among the safest in the world. Why? Not because they're well managed, because they don't lend any money.
Okay, right. So, all right, let me just go back to the mortgage, because I've heard that on your contract, so when you actually get your your contract, it says LOT on there. Is that right? L.T. Now, this has to do with the location, the geographical location. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, I had a Zoom call yesterday, and the gentleman said that LOT stands for your location of your title. That's the new system they're trying to bring in to classify where your property is located. I have no problem with that issue.
Okay.
I'm going back to the old system, where under the Commonwealth Constitution, we are granted our rights under estate in fee simple. What does that sound like? What's fee simple? It's English law. There's no encumbrances. There's no one who can touch your property. You've got the exclusive right of your property. You can burn your house down and burn it down to the bare rock, so long as you don't upset your neighbour, which makes sense.
Okay.
You can put up a tree, you can cut a branch, you can dig a hole, you can put a veranda on the back of your house, and no one can touch you because it's your property. They're trying to take that away from us, and they're doing it by taking away our volume and folio number under English law, under the Commonwealth Constitution, which you've heard us speaking about before, Lisa.
Yep.
And replace it with a new system where when you sell your house, you don't even need to put your signature, because it's all going to go electronic.
Okay.
Right? So I'm coming from the place of, I want people to have a copy of their papers with their volume and folio number, which is English law, which protects us.
All right. So let's keep this really simple, because for people who are new to this, for people, myself as well. So you get the approval to borrow money. You're given your contract, your mortgage contract, right?
Given a mortgage contract, you sign it.
I sign it, and then
the bank doesn't.
The bank doesn't sign it. Okay. Now, why don't the bank sign it?
The bank doesn't sign it because they don't intend to keep it.
They don't intend to keep it. And why?
They are going to sell your mortgage, and they don't want to have their name. Let's suppose we call it Bank A, right? Because they're all in the same position. They are not going to keep that mortgage. It's going to be sold. And if it's got their name on it, they can't sell it because that will destroy the trust. So they leave it blank. And I've seen mortgage contracts in the court where the bank does not sign the mortgage paperwork. It's not a contract.
Okay. So, and they're selling it. So they sell it so they can make money, and they keep selling it. Is that right? Have I heard?
Okay. This is the part we're arguing in the Supreme Court of Western Australia at the time of this video. When they put all these mortgages into a trust,
Yep.
they sell it to a third party, and then that trust is converted. Don't ask me how, because I won't let this is not for the public to know. They
Right.
convert that trust, and they do their magic, and they convert it into a bond.
Okay.
Now, you've heard about in America about the bond market this and the bond market there, and take your money out of your bank account and buy a bond.
Yep.
A bond is a piece of paper worth $1 billion, and it's backed up by Australian people paying off their mortgages, and they trade that on the stock markets of the world every single day.
Right. Okay. So so the bank is making money on all of these properties, so to speak. I guess this is where I get a little bit confused, because I think, well, if they're giving me money to buy the house, and then I pay that money to the person, the previous owner, how is the bank? I get a little bit confused in this process here. So they're putting all of everyone's mortgages into a trust, and then they're selling those.
Yes.
And then they're making money off those, and then they can keep selling it by putting it on this, because it becomes a bond. Is that right? These trusts become a bond. Yeah. So where's I forgot what I was going to ask you. There was a train of thought there.
Yeah, I'm hearing where you're trying to go, and it is very, very complex. So don't think anything else of it.
I guess I'm trying to break down the mindset that I have around what happens when you buy a home. So in my head, you borrow money from the bank.
Yep.
And then that money you use to pay the previous owner. And then you have a house, and then you make your loan repayments, and you pay interest each month, and you know that it's going to take, well, the bank says you've got 30 years to pay it off. So that's what I know in my head. So I'm trying to crack open this mindset of when I'm given this money and this goes to the previous owner, are you saying that this money that I'm getting from the bank, what is this? What are they giving?
Okay, let me explain this, because I used to have a business called a conveyancing business. So I was actually doing this myself before I got into this part, when I was a mortgage broker many, many years ago.
Yeah.
You, Lisa, want to buy a house from me, so you go to your bank to get the finance, and I want to sell the house to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so your bank and your lawyers will contact my bank and my lawyers and say, we're going to do a settlement.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say today is the 27th of August. We're going to do a settlement this afternoon.
Yeah.
There's a period of time, but just to make it easy for everyone to understand. So you've contacted me, I've contacted you, we've contacted the councils, the water board, the electricity, all the other services connecting into that property.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a check for the council, there's a check for the unpaid water, there's a check for the unpaid electricity, and the figure of your bank paying out my bank.
Mm-hmm.
We get to that building in the city, and everything happens at the same time.
Yep.
Checks are exchanged, papers are exchanged, and they say, we've ticked off all the boxes, and your bank has transferred money to my bank, and your debt is paid, alleged debt, because the bank gets their first bite of the cherry. Mm-hmm. That's what happens when you buy a property.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can I please say, I've gone into court, and I know that every Supreme Court says exactly the same thing, from Perth to Brisbane to Melbourne and everywhere in between. And Hobart. Not forgetting our southern friends.
Yeah.
Lisa, you're here today because the bank said you didn't pay off your mortgage and you didn't pay back the money.
Mhm.
Is it not correct that you borrowed money to buy that house at 1 Main Street in Melbourne?
Yep.
The incorrect answer is yes,
Why?
because you never saw which bank account, well, from your bank transferred money to my bank to make a transaction to pay me out to buy my property in the process. There is no documentation. I was a conveyancer. I had a small business because I was doing mortgages, and I said at the time, this something doesn't look right. Where's the money coming from? Where's it going to? It's just numbers on a piece of paper.
Mm.
I say this in the court, and I say the correct answer, Your Honour, with respect, I have not got any proof of which bank Lisa's bank paid their bank account from to transfer the money across to my bank, and I don't have anything else except a cheque.
Mm.
Then they say, but Lisa, you didn't pay your mortgage last month. Is that correct? The wrong answer is, yes, Your Honour, I couldn't pay the mortgage last month because of bushfires or coronavirus or the recession, and all these things are happening, and I haven't got a job.
Mm.
That's the wrong answer. The correct answer, which I have said, and you watch everybody look for the doorways, how to escape. The correct answer is, Your Honour, I'm not paying a mortgage, I'm paying rent.
What?
And they say, oh gosh, oh no. What do you mean you're paying rent? Well, because my mortgage cannot be produced in the court, which means the bank has sold my mortgage. They've been paid. There's no debt. There's no case. There's no court case. There's nothing. Can we go home for lunch? It's 11:30. Can I go to lunch now? I've said that. Hold on. Hold on. We're not going to lunch yet. We're going to explore this idea about paying rent. They know. Because they're owned by the banks.
Right. Okay. And that's a key thing to remember when you are going to court, that the courts are owned by the banks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every court has got an ABN number. Every court pays GST. Every court pays company tax because they're privately owned. Our politicians have sold our courts.
And we go to court believing that the courts are owned by us, that I guess maybe our taxes go towards paying these people. Is that what you would think that most people would think? That's what I thought.
Well,
I thought that it was a service for us and it was paid for by us.
Well,
where did I get that from?
I go back to, and Lisa, you've heard me saying this many, many times, you have to go to your federal member of parliament and ask them for this book.
Australia's Constitution. Yep.
Right.
So you can ring up your local member of parliament,
federal
member of parliament, and get that for free.
Yes.
Yep.
And they're going to say, are you part of a sporting organisation? And you say, I am paying your wages. I require a copy of my constitution.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to divert for just a second, and I'll come back again because everyone tells me I like to divert and jump off the train tracks.
Because we want to go back to the bit about that we're paying rent. We want to understand that. Okay.
Right, but give me 30 seconds. There's a lot of people that you know and I know who do not want to get vaccinated.
Yep.
You have to write this down when you watch this video. You've got to get that book or download the Commonwealth Constitution from Google, and you have to look for section 51, subsection XXIII, which is 23 in Roman numerals.
Amazing. Yep.
Capital A, and it says in there, you have a right not to engage in civil conscription. Now, I got that off my chest. Now we can come back to the mortgages.
Okay, right. So
that's
when
the
you're in
power
court
of that book.
Okay, good.
Right.
So everyone get a copy of that. So, Derek, you're in court, and they say, and the judge says that you haven't paid you've defaulted on your
mortgage.
And then the wrong answer would be yes, I have. The right answer would be no, I haven't.
I'm not paying a mortgage because the bank cannot produce from my letter, and here it is, my bank letter requesting under consumer law for a copy of my mortgage because the bank sold it to a third party, another organisation.
Yep.
And they don't like this because they're trying to suppress this. They're trying to block it. That's why I'm in a hurry every single day of trying to get a way to get this message out, and your video is going to help me to do that faster because there's no time because of the September cliff. And we'll come back to that in just a minute.
Okay.
But then the judge says, but I think the barrister must be correct because you don't have a lawyer. He must be correct. Well, no, he doesn't, because he has to have an oath of allegiance to the Queen. And then they do somersaults.
Yeah. And
because
that's
our courts do not work under Queen Elizabeth II and that booklet constitution.
Yeah. Okay. And that's something that we could help explore further as well in another video too. But at this moment in time, for anyone's watching this and you do want to know more about that, there's lots of stuff on common law that will help you understand that even better. But if you just know at this moment that our courts do not operate under the Queen, am I saying that right, Derek?
Yes.
If you know that, and then when you explore that a little bit more, you'll be even more empowered if you do ever have to go to a court, because you'll understand the system better. Okay. All right. So Derek, I've taken out the loan. I've bought the house. I end up defaulting on my payment. I go to court, and the judge says that I've defaulted on my payments, and I say no, I haven't, because I'm not paying a loan. I'm paying rent, and I'm still getting my head around what that actually means.
It is. It's a very complicated matter.
Yeah.
I get that. But I'm saying to you, if I can just interrupt you, I'm just saying to you, the result of this court case in the Supreme Court of Western Australia, I'm looking forward to sharing this with you in the next videos, what they're going to say when we've moved on from the fact that they've sold our mortgages and they're now trading them on the stock exchange.
And they're trading them, and they're making copious amounts of money on your mortgage.
Yes.
So you're paying, so they've actually made money already, but you're paying them money plus interest, but they're making money in another way anyway, and they continue to keep making money plus the money that you're paying them. Is that right?
Yes.
So
you're feeding this endless money pit, if I can call it, with your monthly mortgage, even though the bank has been paid in full. They've been paid.
Now that's a key part. That's a key part there. So the bank, through this trust with all the other mortgages, they've already been paid in full.
Yes.
Right.
And we're arguing in the Supreme Court the fact that this bank, I'll call them Bendigo Bank.
Yeah.
Bendigo Bank is not the owner of the mortgage. Because we've got the proof from the United States that we did an audit on this man's property and his farm, and we found out who is the third party. And they want to keep that third party in the dark, and we've got the documentation, and I have a professor at law who's backed it up and said it's immoral. It's immoral to sell a mortgage and put it in a trust and sell it without written notification to you, Lisa. It's immoral. This is a professor at law. It's
immoral that they're not telling you what they're really doing.
They're not telling you. So her language is very gentle. It's very soft. It's criminal. It's fraud. It's just immoral. Let's continue, and everything will be okay. It's not.
Because what the banks are doing is they've already been paid for this mortgage that they've sold to a third party, They've
Yes.
already been paid for that. And then you're paying them. And then you're paying interest on top of that as well. And then if you can't make a payment or a few payments, then they come to you and say, well, we're going to take your home from you.
Yes. But the bank, your bank, the Australian bank, is not the owner of your property. And this is where it gets interesting. If
Right.
I'm going to give you the money, I'm the bank,
Yep.
and you're coming to me, Lisa, to borrow this $500,000, which is fictitious, and I sell your mortgage in a bundle of mortgages, and I sell it to another company, I've got to give that third party a notice of assignment. Because I'm going to sell them all the rights, all the legal rights to your mortgage. I'm going to transfer it to that third party, and they're going to give me a promissory note. And some people are going to put their hand up and say, oh, I know about promissory notes. We can't use them anymore, not legally. And I mean legally as in unlawfully, because there's no courts, because they're a bank branch. They're not lawful courts. I can go around in circles and it'll be going down a different rabbit hole. I've got to give the third party a notice of assignment. I'm transferring the ownership to another company.
Yeah.
But you, as the originator, you didn't have a contract with that third party.
Okay.
But hold on, I've got a mortgage with Lisa. Bring it into the courtroom. Oh my gosh, I can't do that because I don't have it. We call it handcuffing.
So the bank can't bring it in because they don't have it, because
They've sold it. That's why the bank mortgage letter is a defense. If you've written it and you've given it to your bank and they don't answer, or as Commonwealth Bank people are coming back now, they're handing that letter to their credit card people. Oh, gee, we haven't had one of these for a while. Somebody wants a copy of their mortgage. We'll just give it to the credit card department. It's not there. It's not there.
So let's just, I guess, flip it so that then we can get this contrast between the two. And I mean, in my head, help me understand this better. What should a bank be doing? How should we really be buying a home? I mean, obviously, saving up money and buying it, but is that obvious? Is that the thing that we should be doing? What should be the true process?
Prior to 1985, when this system called securitization, which is a nasty word in a courtroom, they do not want to hear that word. They go silly.
Everyone, so research that word, securitization. Should everyone investigate that?
They should.
Okay, good.
Do not use that word I do not use that word in my bank mortgage letter deliberately, because we are requesting a copy of a mortgage. We're not demanding it. We're not banging our hand on the table. We're not screaming and shouting. We're making a request of our paperwork.
Yep. Okay.
You are entitled to a copy of your paperwork under consumer law. Okay. You are not threatening. You are not attacking. You're making a request.
Okay. So, all right. So the true process, so I guess in this system that we live in this modern day world, and we've got these, these big homes and everything like that, what would be the right way to pay for these? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, would it be that you would borrow money from the bank and the bank would just give you the money and they wouldn't charge interest?
Well, before 1985, before this all went crazy, because it's an American system, okay? And that's how they make money on top of money, by pushing paper around.
Yeah.
Before 85, we actually did go to a bank and say, I'd like to buy that house. And they'll say, you're going to pay 2% interest because you're going to pay back the original mortgage, the principal, and the bank is entitled to ask you for a little bit extra to run the bank and pay wages and pay rent and so on. You say, that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, you actually did have a real mortgage where the bank did lend you real money.
Right. Okay.
But from 1985, and there's a very particular point, which I'm not even going to start because I could go on all day about 1985 and 1986. That's a session by itself, just that 1 year, right?
Okay.
and I know I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about because of that document about Mr. Andrews, right? That's when it changed.
Yep.
Something happened. I haven't got enough information. Things changed, and in New South Wales, they said, let's bundle all these mortgages together and sell them on the stock market.
Yeah.
And it blew up. It failed. Because those people that were in those mortgages were low income, some didn't even have a job, and they didn't repay the money, and there was no money coming back to the trust, and the whole thing just collapsed.
Yep.
And that's what happened in 2007 in America. There was a frenzy. Mortgage brokers were selling mortgages to people with no job. But, Lisa's going to sign the piece of paper. I can sell that for $1 million. But she hasn't got a job. We won't tell the people on the stock market that. But we're going to charge her 10% interest. And they were selling these mortgages with no value, no money, no repayments, nothing. Like it was the end of the world. Like just getting these papers done on a fraud.
Yeah.
That's why we had the big collapse in 2007. These trusts were not getting any money to be paying them, and they collapsed.
Yeah.
This is what's happening now. 850,000 Australians are not able to repay their mortgages. 850,000.
God.
I got a phone call from 60 Minutes last Friday morning. And the guy said, I don't see what the problem is if I've got a house worth $800,000 in Sydney and I'm paying back the bank my mortgage. I said, you're not paying a mortgage, you're paying rent. Would you like a copy of my bank mortgage letter to test my theory? He did not want to take my bank mortgage letter to write to ING Bank and ask for a copy of his mortgage. I said, your network does not like my emails. It doesn't like my letters about the fraud in the farming community in the country, people with small businesses, and people like you. Why wouldn't you want to take my letter, fill it in, and send it to your bank to ask for your mortgage? He didn't answer my question. I said, you're on a fishing trip. You just want to see what I know. You just want to find out. He's 60 Minutes.
Yeah. Well, who are they being paid by?
My job is to investigate. He didn't want to know.
Yeah.
My point being is I've tested this with the media. I've tested this in the courts. I'm getting my letters out, and the banks are coming back and saying, oh, Lisa, we'll give you to the credit card people, and we'll see what they can do about it. I didn't ask about the credit card. I asked about the mortgage. I'm drifting to give people a perspective.
Yeah. And it's still, do you know what I mean? I'm still getting my head around this because this is years of conditioning, you know, this whole, what? Hang on.
Yes.
Okay. So if you were to go to court and then you say, well, hang on, I'm not paying a mortgage, I'm paying rent. What happens from there?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because we're going to have an answer on the next video, and stay tuned for the next episode. I've always wanted to say that. Okay. We have the court case in Western Australia which will have the answer.
Okay. All right. So, Derek, let's just wrap this up in really simple terms. What a mortgage is and where the bank is committing fraud.
Okay. There is no such thing as a mortgage in Australia. Why? Point one. You sign a mortgage, the bank does not sign the mortgage contract. That is not a contract. Two sides are not coming together and coming to an agreement because they know they're going to sell your mortgage, and they can't put down Commonwealth Bank is signing this mortgage with Lisa because we're going to sell it, and we can't sell it if we put our name on that document. I've got a copy of a fake mortgage contract from ANZ Bank. I've given it to Victoria Police. They are suppressing it. I've given a copy to the State Attorney General. She is suppressing it. It's forgery. It's a fraud. I've got a copy. from a person working inside the ANZ Bank, and the police and the State Attorney General are not going to investigate it.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, alarm bells should be ringing if the police aren't doing their job to investigate a fraud, and they know it. They told me. They've seen it before, but we've been told not to investigate the corruption at the top of the ANZ Bank.
Mm.
I can say this because it's been in the Victoria Police for 12 months.
Yeah.
That's why I need 40 people per bank to come on board and say, we are united, we are community, we are one, and we want our mortgages. And if there's no mortgage, there's no debt. If there's no debt, there's no court case. If there's no court case, there's no legal action.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you had, for example, you've borrowed $500,000 for your home, which you've explained is a fraudulent process because your mortgage gets sold off and gets put into a trust, and then they all get grouped together and that gets sold on the stock market. So the bank is making money perhaps multiple times off your mortgage, and then you're paying them as well, and you're paying interest. So they've got all these different streams of income coming into them, and then they say to you, if you default, we're going to take back your home. But they've already been given money for your home. They've already been given that. So they're really taking more again. So they've got so they're being greedy.
Yes.
What happens if you still have this outstanding amount to pay them? Does that just get removed? Is that what happens? Because are then you saying to the bank, well, no, hang on, you've already been given money from this home. I don't have to give you any more.
Well, I understand your question. The question is, like we did with this farming family in southeast Queensland, the bank took 20 minutes in a meeting on the 16th of March this year. This is a fact. And people say, can I see some proof? And I say, I can't provide you the proof because they are still negotiating the multi-million-dollar compensation of destroying 150 odd organic dairy producing cattle, some of the best dairy products that they make in Queensland, for dog food.
Mm.
Hold on, why did they chop them up for dog food? Because that's how banks operate when they want to try and destroy somebody to steal a property. They didn't sell them to another farmer, they sold them to a dog food company. Right? That is still going. Why? Because I can't bring 40 people from the Commonwealth Bank together and repeat the process and say it stops.
Mm-hmm.
Because they wiped out the nearly $2 million mortgage, and they agreed to refund the property titles back, mm-hmm, to stop the action that we are going to take to go to the International Criminal Court in Holland.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, so just so I'm understanding this, so then these people wouldn't have to be paying the rest of their mortgage off? What?
Well, let me just make it a sentence. The chief executive of the Commonwealth Bank said to these these two elderly people, I think they're in their 70s, right? 6 generations on this land. They've proven there is no such thing as a mortgage in this country.
Yep.
By wiping out the mortgage and giving back the property title and say, we don't want to have anything more to do with you people, because you understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not arguing from the point is we want to stop paying the mortgage. I'm arguing from the point of the greatest fraud on this country is that the banks have been paid.
The banks have been paid, yes.
They have been paid and they've sold them, and you don't have an agreement, a contract with the third party.
So, okay, so this bit here, and I think this is a really important bit for people to understand. So is what you're saying is that if people got together in a class action, so if there was all these people who had defaulted on their loans and have been told that their homes may be repossessed if they don't pay, what you're saying is, and correct me please here, is that if they they shouldn't, the bank can't take their home. They should just be, because the bank has already been given money for their home, the homeowner should be able to retain their home and make payments in due course. Just give it to me in really simple terms, because what's the outcome for these people?
So try and make it as simple.
If you went to court, you did a class action, what would be the outcome for these people?
The outcome of these people, like this farmer, who I've never met, and he is going into court this morning as we're speaking. He's going to court in the next 2 hours actually. Yep. So I'll be speaking to him before when we conclude this matter.
Yep.
He understands he has got a mortgage. I'll just say it's nearly in double digits, in the millions, nearly double digits, and he's paying 15% interest.
Okay.
Which is, it's not even realistic. But
no,
they're taking advantage of a situation. He's in a tough position with the drought and everything else, and he is now saying, if there is no mortgage, if there's no trust, where is the third party, which we know who it is? If they can't come into this courtroom, the case is closed.
The case is closed. Yeah.
The case is closed.
The case is closed. But if this farmer, the case is closed, but does this farmer need to continue to make any repayments? What?
No.
Are you saying case is closed as in he might have $1 million left to pay, like in this fraudulent system, $1 million left to pay, but are you saying that he would no longer have to pay that? That the house is just his?
Yes.
Right. Well, that's just the biggest revelation ever. So
the bank,
how do they get the title then of their property? Are you saying that the court would then have to give them the title of this property and that's theirs?
Well, we're going to go and say, if you can't produce the title, have you
hang on.
The title as well?
It's just frozen, Derek. Just wait, because it's really important, that bit. This is like the best bit and it's frozen.
Yeah, it's like one of those movies where you get to the climax and then
I
they go to a
know,
commercial
that was
break.
like the best bit there. Okay, so we need to say that again.
Right, this is what I'm saying to you, because I'm getting phone calls coming through. So
I know, we need to give clear information to people. So if they're going to be part of a class action where they're told that their home is going to be taken off them, and you're telling the court, no, they're just paying rent because their mortgage has been sold off. The bank has already been given money for their home. These homeowners don't need to pay any more. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not using the words not paying anymore. There's no debt.
There's no debt. Okay.
And I use that in the courtroom. If they haven't got the mortgage and there's no trust, and we know that trust has been converted into a piece of paper called a bond, and it's on the stock market, there's no debt. Yes.
Okay.
Full stop.
Farmer Joe goes to court to say, for example, that's not even his name, but Farmer Joe, for example, goes to court today, and the court says, actually, you're right, you are just paying rent.
I'm going to clarify that. They know he's right. They want to know what he knows.
They know he's right, but the outcome. So he is going to walk out of court, and like I was asking before, if he's got $1 million left to pay on his mortgage, he doesn't have to pay that.
Yes.
Right? He doesn't have to pay that because the bank has already being paid.
Right, because because he's put down in his affidavit, which you know how much we love our affidavits because they're our statement of truth.
Yep.
And until somebody from the other side knocks out your affidavit and says, Derek, your affidavit is a lie because this, and this is wrong, and I'm going to put that in an affidavit and challenge you.
Mm-hmm. If people join the class action, they go to court, the court acknowledges that they're just paying rent. What exactly happens to these homeowners? Are they then still paying off any money owing, or is that gone? That little bit of detail is most crucial.
Okay. Lisa, I get these questions and people trying to hold me to account, which is great. I say to people, I cannot make a guarantee that I cannot promise you right now.
Okay.
I'm not going to work on that basis like other people have done. Oh, she'll be right. Just go along with me. And I've got farmers who are listening to these snake oil salesmen and they're paying tens of thousands of dollars on hope.
Yep. But is it what is
that decision? All I can do is to give you this. We did this on the Gold Coast on the 16th of March this year. The Commonwealth Bank said we're going to wipe out.
It's frozen again.
Your mortgage.
It's froze again.
My
just
apologies.
The good bit.
It froze again because I'm on hotspot and I've got calls coming in now on a regular basis after that court matter. I don't know if they're connected. But we did this on the 16th of March this year with this farming family where the bank ripped up their mortgage and gave them back their property titles because we did the lawsuit in the correct manner of quantum grammar and we went straight to the Holland to the ICC. I want to find 40 people per bank to replicate what we did. To replicate it.
Yep.
That's my promise. Not what we may do in the future, what we did. I have to stress that part. And the reason why it's taken so long is because they were by themselves against the largest corporation on the stock market.
That's huge.
But 40 people together will change that dynamic.
Okay, so 40 people together, I guess I really want to get clear for these people what they're going in for, because they might be going in thinking that if I do this class action, I might get the property of my title and I don't have to no longer have to make any repayments on my home. But you're saying you can't guarantee that. Well, there's no guarantees in life anyway, but is that right? You're saying we can't hold you to that. So
well, I understand the stress that there are families calling me this morning. Derek, I've got a letter from the bank saying if I don't pay, they're going to start legal action. It's happening now. It's happened before this Zoom session.
Yes.
So that's why I understand how sensitive this is, not to overpromise, and then people try to do their own thing and they say, oh, I'm not going to do what Derek said, I'm going to do it a little bit differently, and then change.
Are you essentially with the class action stopping the banks from being able to take the homes?
Yes.
Okay, that's probably all we need to ask.
Because the bank mortgage letter, which you now have, that is the first step in a succession of letters about uncovering the truth. Okay.
The next part is, first part is, someone is frantic, they feel like they're going to get their home taken off, joining a class action. The intention is to stop the banks from taking people's homes. Now, what if there's no income for these families for the next 12 months with everything that's going on in the world? Are you going to try to be getting rid of these payments because the bank already has been given money for those homes? Are you going to be asking for an extension? I just want to be clear on what the intention is, because for me, I'm thinking to myself, well, if I join this class action, what's like you said before, people are calling what's in it for me? Because yes, what is in it for me? Like, I've been told my home is going to be taken. What's the outcome here? What am I going to court for? Am I just exposing a fraud? If I expose the fraud with this group of people, what happens to me and my repayments for my home? Do I have to pay any more? Do you get what I'm saying?
Hearing what you're saying, and I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. We've got two cases, one with a council matter, which means this man doesn't have to pay council rates now on his rural property for the rest of his life. Why? Because he got thrown out of court. He's got a precedent. No council rates in New South Wales. He's just now, and I can't wait to speak to him, because his words were, Derek, I've just been thrown out of the court building.
Mm-hmm.
Which means they get out of our building. We don't like you people that study the Constitution and read the law, that there is no law.
Yeah.
Right? The second person is yet to go into court, and he's arguing, we know you can't, you're objecting to the copy of the mortgage because you haven't got one, because it's on the stock market, because we have a professor of law that said it's immoral to transfer a mortgage into a trust and sell it without notice.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I come back to, and it's going to be like a broken record, get out the bank mortgage letter, fill in your details, and we will try our best to keep up with all the inquiries to get it back to you, and you send it off to your bank.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have it. They don't own a mortgage.
You know what? I get that. But I need to know in my head, okay, so I say to the bank, well, you can't provide that information to me. So what happens now? I don't have to pay you anymore?
My second letter.
Second letter.
Second letter is called a notice of acquiescence. Thank you, Mr. Bank CEO, for not responding to my letter requesting a copy of my mortgage under Australian consumer law. You have just now confirmed that you have sold my mortgage. There is no debt. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful Christmas.
Have a wonderful Christmas. But then do I go on living my life and not pay anything to the bank?
Well, the moment they come back to you with a legal letter, then we say to the lawyers, can you please provide the mortgage contract, which we wrote on the 27th of August?
Yeah.
And the bank CEO could not provide it. So how can you provide that document now?
Yes. And I get that. But do I keep on going on living my life, not paying my repayments? And what if I get to the end of the year and technically there's $20,000 owing? Do I then, is the court just going to say, well,
Lisa, let me answer you with this response. I've been on Zooms every day for the last 2 weeks, sometimes twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
I've had 3 women say to me, Derek, can you help me? I've got a particular problem, which is not like everybody else. I said, what's your problem? I paid off my mortgage before the coronavirus pandemic, but the bank won't give me back my title.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, can you repeat that again? I paid off my mortgage before the pandemic crisis started, beginning of the year, but the bank will not give me back my property title. And my standard answer to them is, because they're trading your home at New York on the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
She said, can you help me? I said, you need an affidavit that you will be part of an action to recover your property title plus US $25 million for the perjury.
Mm-hmm.
We did this on the Gold Coast with CommBank, and they said, we don't want to have anything to do with it. We're out.
Mm-hmm.
These are people who don't have a mortgage, but they can't get their property titles because the bank does not want to let go of their hands on that property.
Yeah.
They got their money.
Yeah.
They were good payers. They paid off their mortgage on time. They had a job and they could pay the money. They paid their 30 years mortgage, And now the bank's saying, no, we're not going to give you back your property title. That's what we're dealing with. And we have to come together. That's why I keep on stressing, I've done it in the court one-on-one. They've got the guns, they've got the police, they've got the sheriffs, they've got the judges. But if we come together in 40 people, which is going to be a lot of work, and that's my problem. And I'm reaching out to your group and the women who are in your circle who are helping us to do the research and write the letters and documents to bring this information together, to bring people's stories together, and then we can come under the common cause of one bank. And then we have numbers, because they will be terrified to see that we are doing the opposite of what they think. We're coming together. That's our strength. And we're not using it. And I said to the farmers, you've got several thousand farming families. Why don't you come together? Oh, we can't do that. We can't put our dirty washing out and say that we've got a problem with the bank. And I'm going to say this. I get calls maybe once a week and say, Derek, did you hear about Fred Smith in Queensland or Joe Blow in Western Australia? His son suicided to hopefully get the money from the insurance to save the family farm.
Oh my God.
But will 60 Minutes report that? No, because they don't think it's not a problem to see the farmers have to lose their family farm because, well, they've got a farm, haven't they? Yeah. But they've paid it off. That's why I've got to sell this message. We've got to come together.
To do that. That's so horrible.
And you know of the friend of mine with the mustache, I'm not going to say his name here, he can back
Bro, I feel like I should have the frozen Derek, it's
with
frozen.
people in his...
Hang on, it froze. It froze.
You know, okay, just 1 second. Okay, you know who I'm talking about, our friend with the mustache. He comes from the land. He's a farming family man himself, and he will back that up. But this doesn't make it to the media because that's a little bit awkward for us in the city. That's what's going on under the fake coronavirus scam. This is what's going on. This is why I need 40 people to believe in what I'm doing and come together.
I believe in what you're doing. I just need to get clear on the outcome for the people who are going to participate in this, because it is a big thing. And like you're saying, you know, people are nervous and they're overwhelmed and they'll be exposed. But from what I'm understanding from this is that if everyone gets together, I mean, obviously there's a lot more power in people, but the bank, it can't take your home. That's what I'm getting out of this. That they can't take.
There's no law. There's no stamps from a legitimate court with the correct stamp from a judge, because the judges are not signing the documents.
They can't take your home. And if in 12 months' time you can't make the payments on your home, we need to get clear, Derek, and we're going to do this in another video. What does it look like on the other side of this class action? Because people need to really understand what the possible outcome is, because they need to know what they're going in for and what it will look like for them in the future. So I want to do that in another video with you, because we're going to wrap this one up. But in the next video, we're actually going to go through the letter that we need to do.
That's what we need to do, because too many people are saying, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to write to my federal member and my member. What are they going to do to me? Their job. The short answer is we should not be worried about writing to our politicians and saying, you are not doing your job. We voted for you to do our work, to work for us, not against us. I want this to go to the daily newspapers and say, why are you not reporting the fraud that people's homes are being stolen in Victoria while the coronavirus lockdown is shut down, our state? Because that would be a bit awkward. We don't want to upset too many people by saying the sheriffs are going with no paperwork. And I did a document with our friend, and we're going to get it to you, Lisa, for you to understand. We have documented the depths of the corruption and fraud.
Yeah.
It's not about, I've got $100,000 on my mortgage, what do I do? It's built on fraud and corruption, and we've documented that in an affidavit, which you know that's the only way we do our paperwork.
Yeah.
And we're going to get that family to go back and take possession of their home that was taken from them at the beginning of the coronavirus scam.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to leave it there. All right. Next video, we're going to do the mortgage request letter. We're going to show you guys where you can get that from and how to fill it in. Okay.
Great.
Thank you, Derek. I will speak
Thank you,
with
Lisa.
you. Okay.